welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Debra, your host. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have today's guest and to talk about this subject. We've been doing a little bit of natural healing, just kind of happenstance. It's amazing how the universe groups episodes together because I certainly didn't. And I've had a couple come up that are similar. So I love that. And this one in particular hits at home as a new grandma. Of course, want my kids to all be giving me some more dang grandbabies. So this is going to be good. And I know you guys are going to love having her on the show. So I'm just going to dive right in and introduce her. She is a fertility alchemist, Dr. Aumatma Simmons. Decodes reproductive roadblocks where others fail. She's the host of top-ranked podcast Egg Meets Sperm, a double award-winning naturopathic doctor, a media-acclaimed expert who's helped hundreds of couples conceive when traditional paths fell short, part scientist, part fertility Sherpa, turning fertility struggles into success stories. Please welcome Dr. Aumatma to Deals with Heels.
Thanks for having me, Debra. Lovely intro.
I am so happy to have you on the show. I always start a little bit talking about your journey. Tell me how you became really focused on fertility as a part of your natural healing career.
So I had already been a naturopathic doctor at that point for about 4 years, and I was married to this man. We were like a year into our marriage, and he started talking about having babies. And every time he mentioned babies, my uterus would scream, "No!" And I was like, "What is happening? I'm so confused." But I'm like one of these people that knows that I have to listen to my body and my intuition. So I did not ignore it. And I mostly took that and realized like maybe I don't want to have children, and then I need to have a chat with him about that. But then as I, reflected and went into it deeper, I was like, "Actually, I do wanna have children. I just married the wrong person." And that was a very scary realization
No
because
kidding. So you
simultaneously.
were feeling a physical response and you
Yeah.
thought, oh my gosh, am I healthy? Is there something wrong with my uterus? And then you thought, maybe I don't want to have children. And then you realized, I don't want to have children with him. But
Yeah,
somewhere
basically.
you could tell we know as women when something's
We
off.
Yeah, we do know, and I think that so many of us, override that, and even me, I went literally, almost instantly into fear mode because if I did the math, it had taken me 6 years of dating this man, plus the 10 years before that I was dating people to find the right person. So I'm like, I'm 16 years deep into this. And now
Mm-hmm.
my body's like, "No, I don't wanna have children with this man." Like, I'm so lost and so frustrated. Everything I had learned in naturopathic medical school was our fertility drops off of a cliff at 35, which is what we learn in all medical schools still to
Right.
this day. So, I went into panic with, well, if I need another 16 years, there's no way. Like, I'm already 32. Like, this is not happening.
I based it on
16
how long
years
it took
puts
me to
me at
find this
48.
guy.
So I literally was like, "Okay, what can I do? Could I preserve my fertility?" I looked into egg freezing, which at that time, this is 15 years ag 14 years ago, it, egg freezing was just getting popular. It had almost just come out almost. So I was looking into that. I was like, "Can I afford it? No, it's too expensive. I can't afford that right now. It's too much of an investment." And then I said, "You know what? Do I actually need to buy into this idea that my fertility will drop off of a cliff?" And I looked for studies, and there are very few studies on this.
No, why
So
would there
I
be?
was
We
like,
don't have to study women. Come on. We don't
we
have to
don't study
study women.
women."
We've studied men. That's enough. That's enough.
But we're really this idea that fertility drops off of a cliff, and everyone believes it. Right? Like, literally anyone you talk to is like, "Well, when are you gonna have babies? You're gonna run out of time." Like, every grandmother, every neighbor, you can talk to any woman, and they're gonna say the same thing. So to me, I was like, well, something is off with that because we are like saying this thing is true, but there's no research that I can find about it.
Right. Why am I still menstruating? Why don't I stop menstruating at
Right.
35 if I can't have a baby after that?
Yep. And so I like drove that line of questioning all the way to the 1800s in France, where it wasn't science, but it was churches that have records of women not coming to baptize their children after 35. And that is where we had created this idea. So, of
Hmm.
course, me being who I am, was like, what was life expectancy in 1800s France? It was for women, life expectancy was 32.8. So
Right. So fertility dropped off because life dropped off.
yes, yes, exactly. So once, like, I saw that, I was like, "Hold the phone." Like, I don't need to be in fear around this, and if I didn't have the fear that my fertility is gonna drop off a cliff, what decision would I make then? And it was instant, like, I would leave this man, I would do what I need to do to preserve my health and my fertility, and I would wait for the right person. So that basically, like, gave me the freedom to make the right choice, which I am to this day grateful for, because that person did go on to marry someone else and then got another divorce.
Mm. Mhm.
And I was like, I cannot imagine being tied to someone that I knew I didn't wanna have children with. So, I like, every day I see my child and I'm, like, so grateful that I did not have a child with that person.
What a wonderful story of just listening one to your body and understanding that when there's nothing wrong with it, that you're the one experiencing it, causing that and paying
Mm,
attention to it, but also doing the research. And let's face it, women, we are conditioned to be a specific way. And oftentimes that has to do with control, right? Suppression, control, and we've lost complete touch with our spiritual connection to the earth and its healing power. I am so much healthier today at 58 than I was in my 40s. And that's completely because I started listening to my body. And I haven't even been to a natural doctor before. I just started listening to my body and doing some of my own research and getting off medications that I don't want to take the rest of my life and finding out that real food is what we should be eating and all of those things. And
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
great lesson that if you just take the time to research and understand why something's the way it is,
mhm,
then you would understand why we don't have to be in that box, that box was built
absolutely,
around assumptions that don't have to exist.
absolutely. I think assumptions make us very prone to fear, especially when those assumptions have not aligned with our life, and, like, now more than ever, I feel like the message that women need to hear is if your doctor has said you're not getting pregnant because it's your age. And I've heard 32-year-olds being told that. I've heard 28-year-olds being told that. To me, that's a moment of pause. It's like, wait, hold on. Are you saying at 28, the reason that I'm not getting pregnant through IVF is that I'm too old? If that is the case, I'm at the wrong clinic.
A
I need to
thousand
get myself out.
percent. I
Like,
mean, they already make everything feel like it's our fault, no matter what it is, right? There's obviously I'm defective. Obviously, there's something wrong with me. So, yeah, and the whole geriatric pregnancy when you're 34 years old, that's a whole nother thing, right?
yep,
Geriatric pregnancy. I'm not
I was
60.
yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
60.
Also had a geriatric pregnancy, and I had a very eye-opening conversation with my OB while I was pregnant. I was, like, 4 months in or something, and she said geriatric for, like, the 5th time that I had seen her, like, every single time, and I was like, This word geriatric is really offensive given that I'm only 37 something. I had a baby when I was 38, so I was 37 something.
Mhm.
And she was like, "We're required to let you know that you are geriatric and high risk as much as we can while you are in our office because apparently insurance companies, this has nothing to do with the medical system, this is not your doctor. Insurance companies want to essentially, like, cover their butts
Mhm.
in what you're being offered, what level of care you get, and doctors also wanna cover their butts and
So if
not
something
have.
happens, it's because you're
Yeah.
old. It's not
Yes.
because we did something wrong or,
Right. Right.
the United States, we're last amongst the richest countries in the world, the most developed nations in
Yes.
the world
Yeah.
in all of women's health, but specifically in maternal health. And I live in Oklahoma, where we are dead last in the nation
Mm,
for women's health and maternity care. And part of
yeah.
that is I think we don't take very good care of ourselves. And so we are eating bad food that are toxic. We're drinking tap water with all kinds of chemicals in it. And we have a lot more focus on all of that. I know RFK says a lot of crazy stuff, but as far as toxins in our food and our workplace, he is 1,000% correct. It's like my
Yeah,
grandma
and
said, just
and
don't choke on the bones. So don't choke on all the crazy, weird stuff that he says, likely for attention, because that's what
yeah,
politicians do.
yeah. I feel like he's helped make some real progress. Like, there are legit big companies, big corporations that have pledged to get toxins out of food, which is amazing. I
It
feel like
is.
that's
I think
like,
the
don't
only
eat the junk
way
food, but at least if the junk food is less toxic, then maybe it's less problematic for people that don't wanna quit junk food.
I mean, getting rid of all of the dyes, getting rid
Yeah,
of all of those chemicals that other nations in the world don't allow companies to put in their food. There's a whole nother version of most foods that we offer here that are processed foods that are
yeah,
available in other countries that
yeah.
aren't as poisonous, that don't use seed oils, that don't do all of those things. So paying attention to that, how much of that those toxins in our environment and in what we consume and our water and all of that is affecting fertility.
Quite a bit. There are this was a scary stat that also was, one of the impetuses for me to get into the fertility space, which was children an average child is born with over 387 toxins floating around in its bloodstream at
I
birth.
believe it because they share it with their mom. I mean,
Yes.
there's no way to avoid having it. And my oldest daughter is a medical doctor and I went to their house because my granddaughter's there. She's almost 2. And I went to my house and like I opened up their silverware drawer and it's all just thrown in there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And my son in law was like, oh, yeah, Mason wants to get rid of all the plastic. And so, like, I mean, it is crazy how much plastic is in everything and
Yeah.
the single serve plastics and all of the things that we didn't have when I was growing up that now we know leach plastic into all of us. It's so
Mhm.
terrible.
Mhm. Yeah, and so plastic is at the top of my list of things for couples that are on their fertility journey to get rid of
Really?
because yes, yes, absolutely. It's one of the biggest things that people can make a shift with that will almost always have a huge ROI on hormones. So
Okay, so it's affecting hormones, which is affecting our whole reproductive cycle, not just that, our whole
exactly.
bodies and making us
Yes.
not as healthy to be able to get pregnant.
Right. Yeah. Uh for For men and women, plastics are essentially going to mimic estrogen. So for men, this is problematic because it feedback loops to the brain, the estrogen, to say, hey, we have plenty of estrogen, so no need to make testosterone, no need to make sperm.
Right.
So it the fastest signal to shut off reproduction in men, and there are so many studies that BPA, BPS, BPF, the things commonly found in plastic, are going to be a reproductive toxin.
So they're going
So
to affect all the reproductive cancers as well
mhm,
at that point
yes.
too.
Yes. And what's crazy about these toxins is that a lot of them are also carcinogenic. So the same things that affect our reproductive tract and shut it off are the same things that are potentially going to cause cancer 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So doing these changes now not only supports your fertility, not only supports your overall health, it will also support perimenopause and menopause when you're at that stage, and it will prevent cancer. Like, in no world does this not make sense to do, right?
So
So
if you're an older woman, an older couple, and you decide that you want to get pregnant, and so you've got a lot more plastic in you, well, how do you
mhm,
get it out of your body?
yeah. So there are very specific detox protocols that we take our clients through to essentially clear the plate, clear the vessel of
Hmm.
all of the things that we can get rid of.
Okay. So
And
you've got stuff for that.
yeah, there's specific binders and things that we can use to get rid of excess. And if we can cause the body will store toxins in fat cells.
Hmm.
So if you have a bunch of fat cells that are excess, oftentimes people are like, I'm like overweight, I need to lose weight. Da, 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 da. I'm like, if you lose weight, you can almost guarantee that there's going to be a boatload of toxins falling into your bloodstream that are then going to be recirculated and actually become more toxic. So, in a way, your fat cells are storing away these toxins. And if you want to lose weight, you want to do it in a controlled environment because you don't want these toxins floating around in your bloodstream, getting reabsorbed, getting more inflammatory because now you've not got the fat cells to store them in.
Right. Which you do want to get rid of the fat cells, but so you have to do like a
Yes.
cleanse with your weight loss to
Yes.
make sure
Yeah,
that you're
so
not.
exactly, and, like, what's really cool is we've been seeing this for decades. The people that we'll work with almost always will lose weight without any focus on weight loss. So what we're doing is detox. We give you specific binders based on what we think you need. And then you stay through that process. And then the second step is reduce inflammation and heal the gut. And when you do these things in a specific order, your body goes, oh my God, I can get rid of all of these fat cells that I no longer need because you don't have the toxins to float around anymore. So the weight just like melts off without people making a huge effort to lose weight
And I think
because
that's what a lot of people say is that I'm trying everything and I can't lose weight.
yeah,
And we get stuck. Some of it probably is cortisol making us
yeah,
store fat because we're
absolutely.
stressed and all of those things. But some of it is just you're full of gunk in there
Mhm.
too. And I
Yeah.
know that I do some just castor oil cleansing of my lymph system externally. And I just can't even tell you, it's immediate, like overnight. I can see a difference in my underarms, and it's crazy how fast it shed all of that.
Yeah.
So once they've got all of that out, what other toxins are out there?
So the next big one that I suggest, especially for fertility, is are phthalates. And phthalates are going to be found in everything that says fragrance on a label. The same thing
Okay.
with your plastic or bisphenol compounds is the same thing with phthalates. They are hormone disruptors, essentially. So the body sees those chemicals and confuses them with hormones that are sup are really designed in our body to take action, right? Hormones are the boss of getting your
Mhm.
body to do something.
Right, they're
If
not just
the
sex hormones. You have so many different hormones in your body, you guys,
so many
that
hormones.
we don't need to know the names of them, but they have jobs that they're supposed to work, and the chemicals can really mimic them and make them not work anymore, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wow. So you also talk a little bit about myths, that there's some myths in modern
Mhm.
medicine that
Yep.
hurt everyone's fertility and health. What are some of those?
Yeah, so one we already talked about, which is that 35 myth. And the
Yeah.
35 cliff myth is problematic because I think that it puts our bodies into fear. And anytime we feel fear, our body says, "Oh, I'm not safe. If I'm not safe, what am I going to do? Turn off reproduction." And I just did a TED talk on this, so it's very fresh.
Mm.
We can either have safety, which supports reproduction, or we can have unsafe, which supports survival. So if we're in fear mode, we've automatically shifted our nervous system and our reproductive system into survival mode. In those states, it's really hard to get the body to get pregnant, right? So you can do all the fertility treatments in the world and they're very unlikely to work because your body is in the wrong state.
So just being in fight or flight. So, for example,
Exactly.
I didn't realize I was in fight or flight because I was the deer, right?
Mhm.
I was in
The fawn.
freeze, and I didn't realize that
Yeah,
that was even a thing, and I swear I was in functional freeze for a decade and didn't know. I think a lot of women are. We know something's not right, and I had a guest on my show last season, and she was talking about being in fight or flight, and she's talking pretty quick about how it affects your hormones, and she says, "And your IQ drops 20." And I'm like, "Hey, we gotta back up a little bit on that because you, 1, don't make good decisions when you're emotional, and now we kinda know
right,
why." And so
right.
I can see how so many things, it affects so many things because it forces us, we need our limbs because we might have to run. We need our cardiovascular because we need adrenaline for being able to fend off an enemy or all of those things. It makes perfect sense that we don't need to be making babies.
Yeah, yeah. So that is the problem with that 35 myth. Another myth is that fertility is a female problem. And
I talked about that off camera a little bit.
yes, there is still a belief in our society that females are the reason why we don't get pregnant or that we don't stay pregnant. I just talked to someone last week who was they were a really sweet couple and he seemed very supportive, but she was on the call with me crying because she had just had a miscarriage and she was like, "It's my fault. Something's wrong with me. I don't understand, blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, let's, like, dial this back a little bit and have a real honest conversation." And reality is you are carrying the child, but more of what is happening with the development of that embryo has to do with him than it does with you. His DNA is making a huge difference in whether or not you carry to term.
Because
So
most of the times miscarriages happen when the fetus isn't viable, not because the
mhm,
host isn't viable, right?
right, right. Yeah, yeah. So it's really important to remember that even statistically, fertility issues about 49% of the time are male factor and 51% of the time are female factor. So there's only a 2% difference between the genders and that's just statistics. In reality, I and like especially when people are going deeper with us, it's almost always both sides. I very rarely see a one-sided issue, which is why we insist that anyone that we're working with, we meet the couple together. I don't
Both
wanna talk to the
sides.
woman alone. I don't wanna talk to the guy alone. I wanna talk to both of you because the 2 of you, what's happening with your relationship, what's happening with your emotional state, how safe you feel in that relationship within the 2 of you, all of that is going to determine how much we're gonna be able to help. And we wanna like, I wanna know that I can help you before I even take you in, right? Like, let's not waste
Yes.
your time, money, energy, resources, like, I
I
would
feel
just
that way
rather
about
be like,
marketing.
"Listen, we're not a good fit."
I feel
What's
that
that?
about marketing. I really do. Like, you really need somebody. I can do all different kinds, but you need somebody that's a real expert on this very thing. And that is not me. I'm not going to take your money.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like it's just so much more integrity when you know who you can help and who you can't, and when you're clear about that, I feel like it's made it so much more in my
Right. It makes
practice
it
and my
easier. Your
business to
success rate's better because you see the whole
absolutely,
picture. You don't have one arm
absolutely.
tied behind your
Yeah,
back, so to speak. And I think that really is indicative just about pregnancy and parenting in general. Sometimes for a lot of men, it's like a hit and run kind of thing.
mhm.
We don't have a lot of involved dads also. So getting them involved in all of it is going to be really important. I love how you want to talk about how well they're getting, how's your relationship together? And how often are you like, maybe you guys shouldn't be having a kid?
Every now and then, I try not to be, like, judgy about it, but there was when it's a red flag, it's an absolute, and we had already accepted this couple into our program. This is about 6 years ago, so we accepted them in. I met the guy for the first time because he wasn't on the preliminary call, and I had, like, overrode my process and
Every
said, "Oh,
time you do
yes,
that,
I
man,
wanna
every
help you,"
time.
right? Always, always. So, I was like, "Okay, well, let's start with your testing, let's see what's going on." And he gets all of his tests back. He had 6 full-blown diseases that were on of his blood report. His sperm were fine. If you have 6 illnesses, I don't care what your sperm analysis says. So,
Yeah,
I
your
get on a
DNA
call
isn't
with
good and the egg is going to reject the sperm, right? That's a whole
God.
fallacy too, is that the
Yeah.
fastest sperm wins the race, and that's not
Yeah,
true at all.
and no, it's not. Sperm Wars, if someone is, like, curious about this, that was a really good book. So I get on the call with them, and I was like, "Okay, so here's all the things that we see," and he had diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, hyperhomocysteemia, liver failure or fatty liver disease, and, like, something else, 2 other things, and that's literally, like, everything that we test for was positive. So, I said to him, like, "Listen, I think we can support you, but it's gonna probably take some drastic changes, and it might take, like, 6 months." And he was like, "Absolutely not. I do not intend to change my diet or lifestyle." And I was like, "Wait, what? What are you even doing here? That's all we do is diet and lifestyle." And
Right.
he was like, "Well, I'll quit, smoking marijuana, but I'm gonna keep the cigarettes, I'm gonna keep the alcohol, and I'm gonna keep my keto animal carnivore
So you
diet."
kept the one you got rid of the one thing that might have been okay if you like
Right?
the
I'm
the
like, "The
least
pot would have probably
impactful.
been okay." I agree. I
I mean, I know it's
literally
not
was
good,
like,
but
"Considering you have fatty liver disease, there is no world in which you can consume alcohol. I'm sorry, that is
yeah.
off the table." And he just would not. So, literally within 30 minutes, he had shut off the conversation, he was checked out. I said to them, "Listen, I do not think this is a good fit, and y'all are fired. Here's your money back. I will send you a refund, like, full refund. I won't even charge you for the lab tests because you're a liability that I do not want on my shoulders.
No
You could die
kidding, right?
tomorrow, and it is not gonna be my fault." So, they were the most extreme scenario where I was like, "No, this can't work at all." And I fired them. She calls me up the next day, and she was like, "Can I just work with you by myself, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Lady, do you still wanna have a child with this man? What's wrong with you? I would be running for the door. There's no way." he's not willing to make lifestyle changes and he could literally die? I don't think so.
I
That's
mean,
not
your
a
life
safe
expectancy.
situation to bring a child
No,
into.
no, absolutely not.
Non-negotiable. And he
So,
was
what
like
are
she was
some
like, "Please
tips?
help me."
Yeah, what are some tips for a woman who, like, the couple's struggling and the woman wants to seek help and the man is resistant? What are some tips to help her resolve
That's
that?
Well, I think that's a tricky question. My response to that is we need to have a conversation between the couple needs to have a conversation about what are our goals? What's our vision for our life? And what is having children still a part of your priority? Because most of the time I feel like when the partner is not coming to the table, they are internally having a shift about whether or not they wanna have children or not.
I think
And
that's
we've had
true
women
too.
in that situation.
And
We've
it's
had women who
hard,
are in that place that
right?
are,
Because
like, not fully showing up, not doing the things that we tell them, and when that happens, I'm like, "Listen, this is not a question of overriding what you're doing. There's no paradigm in which I'm going to whip you into shape. Like, if this is not happening, there's a reason for it. And what I need to have you reflect on is this still a priority for you?" And as soon as I ask that question, they either both of them go reflect on it and say, "Actually, we're not really sure we want to have kids anymore." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, no problem. End of your program. See you later." And
I love that
most
because
of
I
the
think we get
time,
so full of expectations of what we're supposed to do, and now we're doing this,
yeah.
and but we're
Yeah,
half-assing it because we don't really want it, so we're not right. We
yeah,
do that a lot, I think,
yeah,
as people like can't say no, so we say yes, and then we do a crappy job at it
yeah. Because
and
we
really
think
don't
we're
show up.
supposed to, and it's all the, "Oh, I should do this. Oh, I should." I'm like, "No, if your priority is having a child, trust me when I tell you it takes no effort to do the things that I'm telling you to do, and it's not even that many things." Like, I'm not telling you to meditate for 2 hours, right? Like, these are easy things. They're gonna take a few minutes of your time every single day. But if you're not willing to do those, you really have to take a step back and say, "Is this still my priority?" And if my partner is not showing up, it's not my job to make him take his supplements or make him eat the food or micromanage his life so that he's not going out drinking with his buddies. Like, is his behavior is showing you exactly what you need to see, and you just need to open your eyes and see it. So,
Right, and be
I'm
willing to take the choice. It's not like you did. You were like, "Okay, I don't." You felt the pressure of,
Mhm.
"I don't wanna have kids with him, but if I wanna have kids, I've it took me 16 years to get to this. I'm gonna have to have kids with this loser. That's what I'm gonna have to do, whether he's a loser or not, but this guy, I'm gonna have to do this." You felt really
Right.
pressured. I think it's a great
Yeah.
message that, hey, maybe it's the wrong person you're supposed to, and it's worth reflecting that, and you don't have to panic and say, "What if I don't find somebody else?"
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're
And
gonna be a
and we
single
have
mom, you might as well do it with your own way and you're under your own
with
terms
some
rather than
donor
pick somebody
sperm.
that's not gonna be a good husband
Yeah,
or, um,
father.
parent,
Yeah,
co-parent with you, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Because
I'm just so after
the
everything I
way
went
that they're
through starting over my life in my 50s, which is terrifying and daunting after I've done all that. No, I am not putting up with any bullshit. I'm not. I'm put up with so much. I'm done. I'm done with that. If it's not working for me and the other person isn't willing to come together and figure it out and from a point of understanding, not a point of confrontation, just understanding, then I'm
Yeah,
out. I don't have time for
yeah,
that. So I
yeah,
think it's a really
agree.
important lesson. Congratulations for you. Those are hard decisions to make, but you did
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, thank you. Like, it's not just me, like, I have so many women who are in our tribe, in our community that I've supported, who realize in the process of their work with us that their partner is not the right fit. We had someone 2 years ago who she was 41 and her hormones, they had been on the fertility journey for 9 years, which is
Oh my
literally,
gosh.
like, very close to their entire relationship, and he wasn't showing up, he wasn't doing the work. Then at some point, he decided to, like, get up and move to Florida, and I was like, "Wait, but you're in DC, so how's that gonna work?" And she was like, "I don't know, we're gonna, like, fly back and forth," and I'm like, "Is he still on the same page with you?" And she's like, I don't know. I haven't paused to think about it because we just wanna really have a child." And I was like, "All right, well, maybe you wanna have a conversation with him." And he was, like, so far checked out of their relationship that it
No
was
wonder they couldn't
like,
get pregnant,
yeah. And
right?
I
I
was
mean, we
like,
see a ton
"Listen."
of people that get pregnant that are not in good relationships,
Yeah, yeah,
but most of the time, the people that are struggling are having some of that kind of problem too,
yeah,
it sounds
yeah.
like.
I mean, it's not like everybody, but it's pretty frequent that it's the wrong partner or their priorities have changed or they have a fear about something. So that for them, they ended up getting a divorce. She was not willing to look at it because she was like, "Oh, if I don't have a child with him, I'll never have a child."
Right,
And I was like, "Listen, you're good. Like, we got this. You can preserve your fertility till you meet the right man." And I just heard from her a few months ago, and she was like, "There are so many men around me that are like, 'I wanna be your baby daddy.'" Like, they're not even in a relationship. They're just like, "Here, have my sperm. Here, have my sperm." And, like, it is so she's just so excited about the possibilities of, like, I can still be a mother. It doesn't
right,
mean
like,
that
this weight's
this is the end of the
lifted
story
because
for me. Yeah.
that is a fantastic story. Not
Yeah.
that just to accept the path in front of you, let go,
Mhm.
accept what happens, and amazingly, it's always the right thing when you do that.
Yeah.
When you
And
try to
sometimes
force
it
it,
doesn't
like
look
when
like we
you
expected it to,
yes, yes,
right?
100%. Well, like all
Mhm.
great conversations, we've run out of time, and
Yeah, this is awesome.
yeah, I had such a great time talking to you. I learned so much. It's such a huge deal for women, especially as they get older and they think their time's running out and they're staying in a bad situation simply because they want to have a kid and it's a daunting story. It really is. And I'm so grateful for you for sharing yours and for everything that you do to help women and you use your story and your experience to help. That is such a fantastic thing.
Thank you so much for having me today.
If our audience, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do want to contact you, how can they find out about getting in your program? Is that something they can do virtually? Is it
Mhm.
something they need to do locally? All the stuff.
Yeah, we work with people virtually all over, and the best way to get in touch is Instagram at Holistic Fertility Doctor.
Well, how exciting. And I will link to all of Dr. Amatme's stuff when in the show notes. So you'll be able to find it there. You'll also be able to link to my free ebook, 5 Steps to Having a Mindset for Success. And please like, share, download, subscribe, tell your friends. We always need all new listeners. And thank you again, Dr. Aumatma, for coming on the show. What a great inspiration your story is, and you're helping so many people. I'm so grateful for you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Deborah.
Yes, ma'am. Until next week, you guys, we're out.